Welcome everyone to the Real Whovians cast. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Stephen Price. What's up, Stephen?
All right, Chuck.
All right, so yes, it is very early for Matrix Lord, because it's 10, was 10 and 25 when I started this. It's 10:31 now. It's early in the morning. Well, early for me because usually I'm out earlier during the week and I sleep late on Sundays. Try to get up like 11 or after because I work so many hours. But I wanted to get some casts in on Robot, the Fourth Doctor's first appearance from season 12. And I'm drinking my Maxwell House coffee with my Master Missy mug with Capaldi, which I got to tell you, this is one of the best mugs that I ever made up because I really love, the finale. And it's got and I love Capaldi, especially John Sim and Michelle Gomez. So, all right. So basically, I know everybody thinks I'm a nut when I do coverage on my reviewing now, because when I review episodes, I sometimes take 10 casts or 8 casts to go over it. The reason why I keep doing that over and over is because I like to get different perspectives and different cast members on here to discuss the episode. And then sometimes I even bring new stuff into it too from those conversations. So today I'm with Stephen Price. Now, Stephen Price, if you can remember about the episode, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes, I can remember it happening on BBC. John Pertwee into Tom Baker, and the Brigadier saying, "Here we go again."
And Sarah Jane was there.
For the TARDIS, changing his outfits. What do you think of this? And
yeah, Gingy had to help the regeneration because it was too far gone when he got poisoned by the spiders. Right? His name was Gingy, right? I think it was. The monk.
yeah.
Remember? And then the Brigadier got to witness for the first time the Doctor regenerate in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
And the best thing about Nicholas Courtney is his performance, because he sees something shocking, but he immediately discards it and doesn't waste any emotion on it and proceeds in his military stance to not be wasting seconds on emotion and immediately calls up the medic and stuff like that from unit, because the Doctor's going to need help after he regenerates, because he remembers what happened the last time. So they get Harry Sullivan, who's a doctor and also a part of unit, to take care of the Doctor. And again, the Doctor is mentioning stuff from his past when he was John Pertwee's doctor, third Doctor, with the Centaurans, I believe. Is it? Well, not the Centaurans. Yeah, the Centaurans and the dinosaur episode. He was mentioning things. So he's kind of off. He's mentioning things about mathematics and talking about mice, and his head's a little jumbled. So he needs to get stabilized a little bit. And Sarah decides to investigate Think Tank. If you remember, Stephen, that organization, this scientific organization. Now, there was already plans stolen by the robot, the K1 prototype, that it was top secret about a disintegrator weapon. And throughout the episode, we get to meet a cast of Professor Kettlewell, who is the creator of the robot.
Yeah.
We get to meet the head of Think Tank, which immediately, for that time period, where the episode takes place in April of 1973, Sarah Jane immediately thinks that the guy she's talking to is the head of the Think Tank. And Miss Winters has to correct her. I expected better from you, because she's a female as well. She's like, I'm in charge. So it goes to show you the time period that men had most of the main roles, although there were occasions where women were in charge. And in this case, she was in charge of the whole thing. And Sarah does some prying against their wishes. She goes to places she's not supposed to go, and she stumbles upon the robot. She gets petrified. Robot scares her. And then she winds up trying to sneak back in, and Miss Winters allows her, she's like, would you like to see the robot again? And she says yes. And then she gets attached to the robot, seeing its suffering and pain because it's going against its prime directive of, doing things. It's like conflict that Miss Winters was playing with the robot's head. She saw it suffering, and she saw it like a dog, a puppy. She kind of like petted a little bit, touched it, and she felt sorrow for the robot, which, Sarah Jane is a wonderful, wonderful character. She has a heart of gold. Anything on that, Stephen, you want to talk about?
One thing I want to bring up is nobody knew at the time that Tom Baker would be the longest serving doctor, would do it for 7 years.
Yeah. And he was fantastic. I mean, I didn't know that he was going to be a better.
I know a friend of mine went off his episodes because he didn't like something like K9 in it.
Yeah. I wasn't crazy about K9 because I felt that he took away from the intelligence of the Doctor. And I didn't like stuff like that because he was the main focus to me. And then when you had K9 in the mix, it was like dumbing the Doctor down.
Yeah.
For the sake of letting K9 solve it. Meanwhile, he solved it already, So, but I do like Sarah as she was one of my favorite companions with like Joe Grant, both of them. And I do like her compassion and her humanity and she's so thoughtful and she's very strong female character. We got to see the other organization, the SRS, which was made up of scientific fanatics. And then it turns out that they're all part of the same thing, trying to create a new world order to take over the world. But first start off locally. And it's crazy because the Doctor the Doctor does some well, before we get into that, yes, there are scenes where the Doctor, he tries to escape. He has the key in his shoe. And, Harry, tells him like it's too soon. Basically, so many words, I'm paraphrasing. And then he checks his heartbeat. There's 2 heartbeats.
Yeah,
breaks the brick in half because, again, he's still within certain cycle of his regeneration, So he's more energized than before. And he's doing jump rope. He's doing all the stuff. Then he basically knocks Harry out and locks him up in the cupboard.
Yeah, in the cupboard, yeah.
And of course, the Brigadier is talking to the Doctor and Sarah, and he's, she explains to him that they need his help, and he's in and out, Then he remembers who the Brigadier was because he got him confused with Alexander the Great and all this stuff. Because again, he's within certain hours of his regeneration cycle. His mind is still jumbled, so he's going to need some time to stabilize, which he does stabilize after a little while. They go through the whole thing of him changing his costume, and he looked like a Viking. Then he looked like a king. Then he looked like a clown. And then he chose his regular attire, which the Brigadier is just about done with the costume changes. He's like, let's go. And he's like, I can change again. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, let's just go. But immediately the Brigadier is getting him involved in it, but is reluctant because I guess he remembers that when the Doctor first regenerates, he's kind of not all there. So he's a little bit, he's letting him help him, but he's a little bit, he doesn't believe in him yet, even though he knows he's the Doctor. But then and he's like looking at him like, when he's talking about the crushed flower, the little flower, then he starts seeing, the Doctor's coming back into normal. And he's very smart, and he's helping out in the investigation. So that's pretty cool. And Sarah Jane, again, is very strong. She wants to pry and investigate everything that's going on. They meet Professor Kettlewell, and Professor Kettlewell looks like a crazy mad scientist with the hair and the glasses and the bow tie. But immediately the doctor basically figures him out. That he's really, but you don't know this, but the doctor has it in his head. This guy's a bullshit, fake, meaning he is a great scientist, but he's lying to them, and he's really with the bad guys. So
I'm sorry being a bit quiet. I haven't seen the episode for such a long time. I can just remember the beginning of it, the costume changes and all that.
Yeah. I think the shocking thing for me was that Professor Kettlewell was in league with Miss Winters and the other guy, like that whole thing. He was working for them, and at first you thought he was against them, and then the shocking thing was like the betrayal that he was working for them, because they found him. What happened was the doctor goes after the robot, like he's investigating the warehouse where Professor Kettlewell was, and he finds the robot, and the robot tries to kill him. And he's trying to use his scarf to, and then he blocks the vision of the robot with his hat, and he gets cocky and he thinks, all right, I really defeated it, and then the robot smashes him in the back of the head, which could have killed him. I mean, it kind of knocked him out a little bit, where he was dizzy and messed up, and thank God Sarah Jane had to come in and scream at him, like, don't hurt him, he's not against humanity. And then we find Professor Kettlewell in a cupboard or in a locked thing or whatever. But immediately the doctor's not fooled. He knows Professor Kettlewell is with the bad guys. So I mean, it was interesting seeing Miss Winters, because Miss Winters, you could kind of say that maybe they got stuff from Missy from her.
Yeah.
And if they were ever to do something really cool, like a Connection episode, they could always have Missy dress up like Miss Winters and say that Miss Winters was really Missy. I mean, like maybe she's hanging out in his timeline on the cover, because I could definitely see Missy be in disguise, like the Master of Disguise, as Miss Winters, But again, it was great that we have a female villain that was on par with the Brigadier, challenging the Brigadier. They're on the phone together, talking to each other. She's trying to destroy the area and destroy the world through the robot's help. The robot was made up this metal that, like a virus, it evolves and eats other metal and stuff like that. And the Brigadier had tried to stop it. I mean, Unit basically tried to stop it. They were ineffective. The bullets weren't working. Nothing was working. And the Brigadier, while the doctor is trying to come up with a solution to destroy the metal, the Brigadier decided to take it a step further and use the disintegrator gun against it, and it wound up doing the reverse effect and making the robot a giant. And then it was sort of like a King Kong thing where he grabs Sarah Jane, and he also basically accidentally killed Professor Kettlewell. Now, Professor Kettlewell was in line with the bad guys. And you found that out. Even Sarah Jane found that out, to her dismay, when she's like in the room with that whole group SRS or whatever it was. And Professor Kettlewell was with Miss Winters, and then the robot knocked the boxes down, and she was like hidden there. And the doctor had to try to save her, but then he got caught. Then Unit had to step in, and then the robot's attacking Unit. And basically, Professor Kettlewell, even when Miss Winters had the countdown to blow everything up, he wanted to work with them, but he didn't want to kill anybody. He didn't want to kill the whole human race and everything. So he was kind of against them, but he was reluctantly helping them. And the robot
didn't he throw a bucket of solution over it?
Yes.
The virus and
yes. Right before that happened, the robot killed Professor Kettlewell, and the robot went crazy because he's like, that's the only one that cared for him. So he right away took to Sarah, and he kidnapped Sarah afterwards. And he was a giant, and the doctor was making a solution to try to defeat the robot. Now, another key point to the episode was Harry Sullivan was trying to be sort of like a James Bond infiltrate think tank from military defense, and then he wound up getting beat up, and then he wound up getting caught another time, and he was tied up, and then he got freed again, and then he was helping the doctor with the solution, and then the doctor threw this bucket on the robot, and it shrunk it down, and then killed it. And then the big thing was Sarah was very upset that the robot had to die, and the doctor knew that, and he was offered her a jelly baby, and he tried to distract her to go with him, and she agreed. And then Harry pops in, he gives him a jelly baby, and Harry's like, "You're gonna go in that box, that small box?" And then he's like, "Well, why don't you inspect it to see if it's okay?" And then he's like, "Oh my God, like what is this?" So then he wound up traveling with them, which is really cool. And I like the fact that the doctor was going to travel with Sarah, and then somebody comes into the fray, and he's just like accepting of Harry too. Like, "Hey, you want to come with us? Cool, let's go." And then they disappear, and the Brigadier's like, "Oh, he's gone again." So strong episode for me. And again, I'm not gonna rate when we do these ratings. I'm not gonna rate the classic series because to me, my opinion's biased, and I grew up on this, and to me, it's perfect. My Tom Baker's my doctor, and the episodes can't really go wrong in my eyes. Anything you want to add to it, Stephen?
No.
Yeah. I mean, you like for the time, the special effects.
I'll have to rewatch it. It's such a long time.
I know. The special effects were cheesy for now, but back then, I guess the special effects were, okay for its time, But again, no TARDIS interior. We only saw the TARDIS from the outside.
Yeah.
They really didn't. And the sonic screwdriver was used to set off the explosions in the field, and he also used an attachment to the sonic screwdriver to make a sonic lance burn its way through the door, which was pretty cool. So the doctor also used his scarf to pick up a wrench like he found on a thing and see the oil that was on the ground, and he also used his scarf to trip the bad guy. So he used his scarf quite a few times in his first episode, which is great. And again, he's my doctor from back in the day. So, all right.
Yeah, he's always been my #1 doctor.
Yep. So, what else am I going to say to this? Let me see if there's any comments, because the one thing I don't do is I have a bad habit when we go live of not checking. There's a feature that's when we live stream. There is there's a section where people place comments.
All right.
And it doesn't look like we have anything there. So we are going to come back and do another Classic Doctor review of Season 12. We are going to do the Ark in Space. We're going to go in order of Tom Baker. So if anybody wants to do Ark in Space, definitely let me know.
Yeah.
The Ark in Space, we'll try to do it on the weekend, next weekend. But if I'm able to do it earlier, I'll try to. But everybody has time to watch the episode. And again, we're going to cover the Ark in Space for many podcasts. Doctor Who is off the air till Christmas, so we're going to be doing that as well. We're doing our regular scheduled Whovians cast on Jodie Whittaker and any news that comes up from the Christmas special and from Series 11. So I thank you very much, Stephen Price.
Okay. I'll make sure I watch the Ark in Space.
Yes. Did you have any pictures with Tom Baker?
Never met him, no.
Oh, wow. I would love to meet him one day. All right, guys. Take care. Bye for now.